Hi there. Thank you for taking the time to watch this webinar on supporting and valuing differences in neurodiverse interaction.
Hi, my name is Mark Smith. I'm a behavioural specialist on the team. So today I'm going to talk about how a child self-advocates from a kind of behavioural sports perspective. So I'd like you just to think about how your child advocates for himself at the moment. So just take a bit, 5 minutes, just write it down on a piece of paper. And what we'll do is come back to this later on and then just, for your own interest, see if there's anything you would add to that list. So during a recent group, we asked young people to share some ideas about what helps them to self-advocate. Here, the first person noted that they would advocate for themselves by telling the teacher that it's the teacher's responsibility to ensure that everyone in the classroom learns equally, and that the people chatting at the back of the classroom are distracting them from participating and from learning. This might seem a very direct way to approach it. However, some young people like to be direct, and that's what they're comfortable with, and we shouldn't discourage that. The second young person noted that they'd prefer to use a visual to advocate that they need a break during the class. A timeout pass might be helpful to request a break. And this is often used in schools, and it's useful for young people who might not feel comfortable speaking out directly or putting their hand up and drawing attention to themselves. So a tool like that can be quite discreet as well. Third young person shared that they often find it easier to communicate their needs and to share how they are feeling through texts, as it gives them time to plan what they want to say. So in this way, they can take some time, they can write up their text, they can reread it, make sure they're happy with it, and then they can send it. The fourth young person noted that they need to be fidgeting with an item in order to concentrate. You might think I'm bored, but I'm not. It helps you to concentrate. And again, if this is useful for a child, we shouldn't discourage that, and we should leave them use a format that they're comfortable with. Some other ideas the young people in the group mentioned, which support them to advocate their need, included wearing headphones to support with concentration, developing a secret word that you can share with family or friends. And when you use this word in a conversation, it highlights to those other people that the young person needs a break. They may need to take time out from the situation. So how do we teach to self-advocate from a positive behaviour support perspective? In PBS, behaviours of concern are seen as a means of communicating. So we look for the message, not the topography of the behaviour, that is what the behaviour looks like. And this can be a wide spectrum from physical behaviours such as biting, hitting, kicking, and or the destruction of property, to emotional behaviours such as temper tantrums or a child being sullen and withdrawn. In the context of self-advocacy, the three parts to becoming an effective self-advocate are knowing yourself, knowing your needs, and knowing how to get what you want. The knowledge will help you to be better at communicating what you need and what you want and why. The key to responding to your child when they display behaviours of concern as a way to self-advocate is to support them in communicating their message to say they don't need to resort to behaviours that can be challenging to those around them. This process, however, will take time and patience. Self-advocacy doesn't always look polite or pretty. So we need to respect when the child is refusing something or says no. Acknowledge the child's attempt to self-advocate. For example, I like how you stood up for yourself there. Ask your child to list some of the personal qualities and strengths that they have. Ask your child, do you need anything from me? Write affirming messages or reminders on the post-it notes or little cards for your child to carry around with them. Disclosure badges can also be helpful as a visual aid to communicate needs to other people. Timing is also very important. When a child is in a heightened emotional state, this is not the time for self-teaching, because of the arousal cycle. During the arousal cycle, the child's emotions are heightened and escalating. So the best time to catch them, that is when they're calm and relaxed. Reflective practice is a great way to help your child to develop new strategies in self-advocacy. And again, this should be done in a relaxed state. Partnership with your child. Some children like visuals, some do not. Some children respond well to praise, while others find it as a trigger and may see it as a self of control. There are some very useful resources available on the internet. A Google search will help you locate many of these. Some that I came across and found useful and have shared with parents are The Reason I Jump. The Reason I Jump is sharing my story. It's a self-advocacy workbook for autistic people for autistic people. Standing Up for Myself is another useful tool. Some steps in helping a young person in situations of conflict can be helpful and help young people navigate difficulty in friendships and relationships. So approach calmly, stop any hurtful actions, acknowledge your child's feelings, gather all the information that relate to the problem at hand, ask for ideas from your child for solutions and choose one together, partnering with your child. And be prepared to give follow-up support when necessary. In conflict resolution, be prepared for every outcome. What worked one day or even earlier in the day may not work now. We don't have to solve everything right away. Be mindful of how the situation is making you and your child feel. Children can learn to self-advocate through parents' experience and learning. Be open to change in attitudes to learning and education for both yourself and your child. Share experiences of your time as a child in school and how you self-advocated. Reflecting with your child on what you could have done differently to self-advocate in similar situations can help a child learn from you. It's also important to talk to your child's education partners, school, staff at all levels, team coaches, family and close friends. They may not have the understanding of your child's needs, and you can support them with this. Let your child know we all get things wrong sometimes, that we all make mistakes, and then even as adults, we're still learning. This can be very powerful. So if you reflect back to at the start when we talked about writing down on a sheet of paper how your child self-advocates, having looked at it from a positive behaviour support perspective, I just ask that you revisit that and think about some of the behaviours your child may have engaged in and whether you saw those as a child just being mischievous or naughty or uncooperative, or would you have viewed them as your child trying to self-advocate for themselves? If you have any further questions around positive behaviour support and how it can help with self-advocacy, please feel free to contact your child's key worker within the team.
For further information on strategies, you can also find a leaflet on the Enable Ireland website with tips from the team on supporting neurodiverse interaction.